Welcome to the Fiscal Finesse Flash, where we will share insights into personal and business finance for today's economical climate and finesse your finances. And now your host, Jenefeness Houston.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to the Fiscal Finesse Flash. This is your weekly session on personal and business finance. And today we're going to talk about the topic of income tax, which is a pretty hefty topic, right? So we could go anywhere with that. I have one of the experts with me today that is going to talk about income taxes. So giving you all an opportunity to build this session and to go live. So again, we're talking about income taxes. If you have any questions, I have a tax expert on the line and she's going to answer those questions. So we'll get started. I'll introduce her. So on the line with me, I have Shaneta Mosley. Shaneta is with Diverse Tax and Accounting. She has her own accounting firm, and her background is in accounting. So welcome to the show, Shaneta.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Can you tell us about your business and where someone will be able to actually locate you?
Yes, we offer individual and business tax preparation as well as accounting and bookkeeping and payroll. We are currently located at 3079 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43204, which is on the west side of Columbus. And our office telephone number is 614-279-9545. If you use that number, you will also get 1 hour of free consultation.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so if you call Shaneta and use the number that she gave you, you will get a free tax consultation. And that is worth a lot of money because oftentimes, especially during tax season, a lot of tax professionals do not have time to just give complimentary tax consultation. So, Shaneta, we definitely appreciate that. I was just reading and talking with a few clients, and they were just saying like they've made a ton of mistakes when it comes to taxes. And what would you say one of the most common mistakes is that you've seen with tax preparation?
Well, I would definitely have to say that using online software can be somewhat confusing at times to those who aren't knowledgeable of the tax laws. One of the most common mistakes are overlooking itemized deductions to reduce the tax liability. So, or maybe even keying in the information twice, not knowing exactly where to enter it in at. So, that's a common mistake, but more so than anything else, just not taking advantage of itemized deductions such as unreimbursed employee expenses. There's tons of employee expenses that you can write off that you're not reimbursed through your employer. One of the common deductions is your cell phone usage. Everyone uses their cell phone all day, every day, and a lot of times it's used for work purposes. So that's a common overlooked deduction. Also, mileage. If you have to drive from one site to another or just running errands or just, if you're any mileage that you may have with the exception of commuting. So those are overlooked itemized deductions that I've seen individuals might take advantage of. Also, again, entering in the information in the correct spot on, the online software or however they're preparing their taxes.
Thank you for that.
I also must say that I met with an IRS agent, and she informed me, this was last year actually, but she informed me that 70% of online tax software returns that they received in their office, they're pretty much audited. And the reason being is because people really don't know what they're doing for the most part. So a lot of those returns are actually audited to make sure that the taxpayers are filing their tax returns accurately when they try to do them themselves.
Wow.
You're listening to the Fiscal Finesse Flash with your host, Jenefeness Houston.
Super interesting. So 70% of the returns that are done using the online softwares like TaxAct, H&R Block, and those things that are not done by a paid tax preparer are audited by the IRS, meaning that they're looking to ensure that, number one, us as consumers are actually doing our taxes correctly, and number two, to see if we're doing things probably illegally, right?
Correct. And that's one of the biggest things that they're trying to crack down on, which is what the PATH Act was about, or enforcing, making sure that people weren't making up numbers on their W-2s and their federal wages withheld and so forth, or their federal taxes withheld.
That is interesting. Have you seen any instances where choosing the wrong tax filing status has been harmful for your clients or people that you may know of? Do you have any horror stories where that's concerned?
Well, the most common one is where people try to claim other people's children. The return may go through and the IRS may approve it. However, if someone else filed a return for that child, their return will get rejected, and then the other person that filed the child in error will have to pay that money back to the IRS, and then you will be disallowed from claiming any earned income credit going forward. So that's a common one that's been going around for quite some time, but just claiming children that you are not entitled to claim, which is another one of the things that the IRS is cracking down on. So, I always advise my clients there's no need in doing things that you're not entitled to do on your tax return, because it's just going to, cause problems in the future just to get, a large refund for 1 year. So, and I'll turn those clients away.
I'm glad that you said that. So when you discover fraud or fraudulent activities or any type of deception from the clients that are coming to you, as a paid tax preparer and as a professional, right, to uphold your own integrity of diverse tax accounting, you just automatically turn them away.
Absolutely, because we have to do, due diligence and make sure that we're asking the appropriate questions to make sure that they are entitled to claim that child and actually receive the refund.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I don't want to put my business in jeopardy.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I know that in 2016, here locally in Central Ohio, I know at least 2 people that were arrested for preparing fraudulent tax returns. And I'm not sure if they were doing it purposely or if they just weren't doing their due diligence. But the bottom line is it does come back to the paid tax preparer and not so much the individual.
Absolutely. Also, one of the other biggest scams going around is, paying someone outside of, a paid tax professional to do your tax returns, where they charge you $1,000 and then they have your refund deposited into their account, and then they issue you the difference.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, somebody had asked me too, like, there was a guy at my church. He came to me, he said, listen, he was asking me about his tax preparation. I said, well, how much did you pay? He said, I paid him a percentage of what I got back. I said, that's illegal. You can't charge you a percentage of what you get back. He's like, well, yeah, that's what he did. And that's exactly what he did. He had the money going into a prepaid card. And then he, once he received it, he paid him his amount. And I was like, are you sure? Because I know sometimes as a tax preparer, you can have the account, have the money go into a prepaid card that's through a service, correct? But not a prepaid card that you have access to, meaning the individual tax preparer.
Not at all. Whenever I issue my clients a prepaid card, they will receive a temporary card, and then within 10 to 12 days, they'll receive a permanent card with their name on it.
And diverse tax and accounting, nor Shaneta has any access to that money, right?
Not at all. Not at all. That is illegal.
Yeah. What advice would you give tax preparers for trying to figure out if the person that's preparing their taxes is actually legally doing so?
Well, actually, there's a website that you can go onto. at the IRS.gov to check for paid tax professionals. So that's one way to determine if your tax preparer is actually registered with the IRS or if they're just doing them at their kitchen table using TurboTax and H&R Block and, having the money sent directly to them. So you can always check the P10 directory at the IRS.gov.
Awesome.
And just asking key questions, making sure that your money is coming directly to you and not to the tax preparer. The only way it should go to the tax preparer if the tax preparer has the ability to print checks.
Okay, now that's good that you said that. Talk a little more about that, like printing the checks there in their office.
Well, there's something called the refund transfer, and that's when your tax preparation fees come out of your tax return. But the money is still controlled by the IRS and the bank that we use to process the refund transfer. And it's the same thing as offering the fast cash advance as well as the prepaid debit card. So, they should be using a tax product offered through their tax bank or their software. It should never go to a Huntington account or a Chase account or, your most common commercialized banks in your local area. It should definitely be going through a bank that the tax software is using.
Thank you so much. So I was reading consumer alerts that the IRS had put out the other day, and they were just talking about the fact that there's a new scam targeting immigrants and refugees who don't have traditional Social Security numbers but have I-10 numbers. Did you hear about that, or do you have any insight on that?
No, that's a common one that's been going on for quite some time. It's just, a lot of times it takes the IRS a long time before they catch on to, all the schemes and the fraudulent activity that's going on. But, the more so than anything else, protecting your identity, whether you have a Social Security number, an I-10 number, and even if you own a business, you need to protect your EIN number. I had a client who needed to file their tax return, and I always check to see if they have any outstanding federal debt, student loan debt, or state taxes. So when I called the number, it said that he owed the Department of Maryland, which he never lived in Maryland. So, we got on the phone, called Maryland. Somehow or another, someone opened up a business using his EIN number in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
And so they were looking for a Maryland tax return for his business, and they did an assessment on him, according to his industry, and said that he should have had, X amount of dollars in sales. Now you owe us this amount in sales tax. So they tried to say he owed like $2,500 for the whole year of 2015. So
wow.
We have to get that all situated and taken care of before we could file his federal tax return for 2016, or else they would have taken it, Maryland would have taken it. So, protecting your Social Security number, protecting your business EIN number and PIN number.
Thank you. That's some good information. So you're listening to the Fiscal Finesse Flash with your host, Jenefeness Houston, and my guest today is Shaneta Mosley with Diverse Tax and Accounting. Shaneta, I really appreciate your insight into this. If you could give some really sound advice, or if you could leave our listeners with one thing, what would it be?
I would definitely say make sure.
You're listening to the Fiscal Finesse Flash with your host, Jenefeness Houston.
You do your due diligence in selecting a tax professional to prepare your taxes, making sure that they're knowledgeable of all the tax laws, making sure that they're not trying to take advantage of you, and making sure that they're maximizing your refund to get back exactly what you deserve. Make sure they're asking you the appropriate questions to determine what you can actually deduct. Just make sure they're taking their time with you and not just rushing through your tax return because, sometimes tax preparers will just do a quick tax return and not, really overlook everything to make sure it's as accurate as possible. Also, I do have one more other thing that I would like to discuss.
Sure.
Another common mistake this year is Uber and Lyft drivers.
Ooh, good.
Yes. Their income is reported on the 1099-K, which makes them self-employed. And I've noticed that a lot of tax returns haven't included all of their deductions to reduce their self-employment tax, such as the Uber and Lyft service fees, their mileage, their cell phone, and their supplies. Those are just a few. But just making sure that you're writing off everything that you need to write off to reduce your self-employment tax for that. And then just, if you're an entrepreneur, making sure that you're keeping track of all of your income and expenses, your mileage, and if you have a home office, your utilities, repairs and maintenance, depreciation of your home if you're a homeowner, or total rent paid if you're renting. And then, you have to keep track of these things. The IRS is cracking down on self-employed individuals filing the Schedule C. So I would highly recommend using QuickBooks Self-Employed to keep track of all your income and expenses. It's anywhere from $5 per month to $20 per month, depending on which plan you choose. And that can be used online or even an app. So,
well, that is very helpful, because a lot of people who drive for Uber and Lyft does not consider themselves as self-employed, because most of them have a full-time position and they're doing this a part-time basis. So that's really good to know, and I appreciate you giving us that insight, because like you said, if you're considered self-employed, there's a self-employment tax that's separate from the employment tax. And if you can decrease that in some way, absolutely, these folks need to know that. So thank you for giving us that tip. And Shaneta, if someone wanted to contact you and take advantage of your services at Diverse Tax and Accounting, let us know again what you do and how they can contact you.
We can be reached at 614-279-9545. I have several tax professionals here that are willing to answer any questions, and we also offer 1 hour free consultation if needed. Usually the hour is for small to medium-sized businesses, but individuals, they can call at any given time and ask any questions. Even if you need a second look at your tax return that you filed for the last 3 years, I've been able to find mistakes and get them some money back. Because the tax return wasn't prepared accurately. So you can always go back 3 years.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how can, and your website again?
www.diversetax.net. And our email address is info@diversetax.net.
All right. Well, that is Shaneta Mosley with Diverse Tax and Accounting. We really appreciate your time, your insight, your expertise. And I just wanted to ask you on a personal note, are you pursuing your enrolled agent?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. I'm proud of you, Shaneta. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Keep it up. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of where you've come in your business and just as an entrepreneur. And I'm always looking up to you and inspired by what you're doing. So keep it up. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Me.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was our guest, Shaneta Mosley with Diverse Tax and Accounting. This has been the Fiscal Finesse Flash, and our topic today was taxes. So if you have any questions about this and or about Diverse Tax and Accounting, please feel free to reach out. Again, her telephone number is 614-279-9545. Have a super awesome, amazing day.
Thank you for listening to the Fiscal Finesse Flash. We hope this message finessed your finances and your life. We believe leaders are readers, and podcast listeners become great practitioners. If you need assistance implementing a strategy for finessing your finances, call us today at 318-595-0784. Until next time, finesse your life and don't live in fiscal strife.